Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Note to Self. Now, before I get into today's episode, I want to say this really simply. Every week, I share perspectives on Note to Self, things I'm noticing, things I've lived, things I've learned, but none of this is about telling you how to live your life. It's simply an invitation to think for yourself, to hear yourself more clearly, to trust your own voice, not to replace it. Now, let's get into it. There is a shift happening right now. If you tune in energetically, you can feel it. People are waking up in a lot of ways, but at the same time, there's still this habit of looking outside of ourselves for answers, right? And I share this because this is actually a huge pattern that I've personally stepped out of, and it has made the biggest difference in my life. It has allowed for so much more freedom and a deepening of self-trust that I didn't even know that I needed. So when it comes to this idea of looking outside of ourselves for answers, what's right, what's aligned, what should I do next? The truth is, you don't need another guru. You need to trust yourself. And I think so many of us in this community have heard the quote, all answers lie within. And that's the truth, right? Anytime that you're faced with a situation that's feeling very challenging in your life, the answers on how to move forward are within yourself. It just takes a moment. It just takes tuning in. And what I will say too, though, is that there was a time when learning from others might have been really necessary. Maybe we needed guidance. Maybe we needed frameworks. We needed people to show us what was possible in life, and that's valid. But at a certain point along that pathway, something starts to happen. You stop checking in with yourself first. You start second guessing your own decisions, and you start feeling like someone else knows better than you. And that's the moment where growth quietly turns into disconnection from the self. And this can look really subtle. It can look like consuming a lot of content, but not actually changing anything in your life. There's a concept in psychology called the illusion of competence, where you feel like you understand something just because you've heard it, but you haven't lived it. So you just keep consuming and consuming and consuming, but nothing really shifts. I'm just going to pop in here with a personal example. I used to consume so many self-development books. I was physically reading books while also listening to audiobooks all the time, like on repeat again and again. And what I can tell you is that there's only a few key concepts that actually feel like they stuck out to me that I downloaded and integrated into my life. A lot of that just felt like filling space. This energy of looking outside of ourselves can also look like asking other people what they would do in our situation, or assuming that someone else is more advanced than you. Even in self-development, even in spirituality, this happens all the time. You can still be doing everything right and not trust yourself. It's like having a compass in your hand and choosing to follow someone else's map. So, what is self-mastery really? It's not about having everything figured out. It's not about being perfectly healed, and it's not about never getting triggered. Self-mastery is much simpler than that. It's being with yourself in real time. It's taking responsibility for your choices each and every day. It's trusting your inner authority even when it's uncomfortable. And sometimes this requires us to take more time to sit with ourselves in silence, to meditate, which I feel like people who aren't on board with meditation, if they haven't tried that yet in their life, I mean, I know there's been space and time in my life where people are like, meditation, like that's a thing, it'll change your life. And it's like, okay, well, like I don't have 10 minutes a day to do that. When you start carving out that time for yourself, you are going to see that you have so much more time available to you because your mind starts to clean. It starts to become more decisive. It starts to become more clear. And you trust yourself, right? Now, there's also something I want to touch on here called self-efficacy, which is your brain's belief that you can handle your life. And that belief doesn't come from thinking. It comes from lived experience, from making decisions and living them, walking them out, and realizing that you can handle the outcome no matter what that outcome is. That's how trust is built. It's not about outsourcing every decision. And this is where discernment comes in. Discernment is everything. It's the ability to hear information without automatically adopting it, to feel what actually truly resonates for you versus what just sounds good. Because your brain is wired to look for certainty. It wants someone to tell you the right way because it feels like it's easier, it feels like it's safer. But discernment interrupts that. You can listen to 10 different perspectives and still stay anchored in yourself when you are practicing discernment. And this is huge because discernment is essentially saying yes to your inner voice and your authority. Now, something else I've been noticing this year overall is that there's a shift happening in the self-development space. It's becoming less about information and more about awareness, less about learning more, and more about actually seeing yourself clearly, because information doesn't create transformation, right? Insights don't create behavioral changes. Awareness does. And here's the tricky part. We all have blind spots. There's something called blind spot bias, which refers to the point that we literally cannot see certain patterns in ourselves. Not because we're not aware, but because we're inside of our own perspective of our life and all the situations that are a part of that. And this specifically is why coaching can be so powerful. Not because someone has answers for you. Coaches, those that are professionally trained and certified, never give advice. Coaches are meant to be a mirror for you. A good coach helps you see what you can't see on your own. They reflect patterns and they bring awareness to what is already there. It's like the fact that you can't see your own face without a mirror. That's what this is. But this is really important. It's important to note that a coach is not your authority. They are not above you. They are not the answer. The power is still you. The power will always be you. And a good coach actually makes you trust yourself more, not less. And I think this is why a lot of people feel like courses or constant content, whether that be podcasts or self-development books, aren't hitting the same anymore. And it's not because they're bad, right? It's because many people already know a lot. The gap isn't knowledge anymore, right? We've got AI at our fingertips. We can ask any questions and get the answers in seconds. It's about integration. It's about embodiment. It's about actually living what you already understand. Self-mastery doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means staying connected to yourself even when you're supported. And when you start living this way, you make decisions faster. You feel less confused. You stop needing constant validation. You trust your timing. Overall, you feel grounded in your own energy. And honestly, you stop being so impressed by people who position themselves as the answer. And what I found along my journey is I actually feel repulsed by these types of identities. Because the truth is, the more and more that you get in tune with yourself, the more and more you trust yourself, anyone out there who's preaching to you some type of way to live their life, it just feels, to me anyways, like it's false. Like anyone out there who is not preaching self-mastery or like along those lines of like, okay, here's a different way of looking at things. Here's a way that you can deeper understand yourself. Here's a way to like regulate your nervous system. Anyone who's telling you something other than that is not actually guiding you to your truest self, your heart, right? Now, what I'm saying here is that you're not here to follow someone else's path. You are here to walk your own path. There is wisdom inside of you that no one else can access besides you. And the more that you trust that, the less you'll feel the need to look outside of yourself for permission. And if you're in a space where you're not looking for more information, but you're actually ready to see yourself more clearly and move differently through the world, that is the exact work that I do inside of my coaching containers, is offering you that mirror to look at your blind spots, to look at the gaps between where you are now and where you want to be, and start to find those answers within. Start to bring clarity about what is next for you in your life to grant you more fulfillment, more satisfaction, and just overall more abundance in every single area of life. So, as always, the links for one-to-one coaching and my Cambo group circle ceremonies in Toronto is all linked down below. If you feel the call to work with me, I would love to hear from you. And yeah, I just want to leave you with this. You are so intelligent, you are so bright, you are so brilliant, and whatever you might be facing in your life that's feeling challenging, you know how to move forward. You know, and sometimes it's a matter of time before that clarity comes to the surface, and that can be uncomfortable, but just know, just keep reminding yourself that I know what to do. I am capable. I will make it through this. So, sending you so much love, and I'll talk to you again soon.